Hey guys, and welcome back to another Jay the One-Eyed Gamer. Today's video is going to be on Utawarerumono Zan, and what I'm essentially going to do is just give a brief overview of the 6 playable characters that have been announced on the website. Those are Haku, Kuon, Nekone, Nora Soot, Oggy, and Ukon. And what I'm going to essentially give like a summary of them in Mask of Deception. I'm not going into Mask of Truth because Zan looks like it's going to be a retelling of Mask of Deception, so I don't want any spoilers from Mask of Truth, and I'm going to try to avoid any spoilers from Deceptions. So with that in mind, we'll start off with Haku, and Haku is essentially the main protagonist of the franchise for Mask of Deception and Mask of Truth. And what we find out about Haku is that he has amnesia. And at the beginning of the game, he wakes up in a forest, not knowing who he is, where he's at, in what looks like the dead of winter. He's not really wearing any clothes that are particularly suited for winter, so he's freezing. And he is then attacked by a giant insect monster who chases him essentially for a good while until they both fall into a cave, at which point a giant slime monster shows up and eats the giant insect monster, and essentially looks like it's got its sights set on Haku. But strangely, the slime monster stretches out to see Haku and its face shifts into that of a human. That's very interesting. He's then saved by Kuon, who it is then revealed that she was the one who found him first in the woods, and he essentially walked out while she was away for a couple seconds, finds him, and essentially gives him his name of Haku, because as of this point, again, amnesia, he doesn't know who he is. And she gives him a name, she gives him clothes, and she gives him a very important item, a metal battle fan. That essentially is a very precious item to her, of which she states it belongs to someone very special to her, and that she is just lending it to Haku with the obvious hopes of him returning it to her when she is ready to take it back. And she also states that she will be his guardian until his memories return and he is able to fend for himself. And from that point on, that is what literally starts off Mask of Deception, and we get to see Haku's character progression through the story. A little bit about Haku: he is very intellectual, very smart. He is able to figure out mathematics very quickly. He also is able to pick up the language from Utawarerumono in a very short amount of time. He's also extremely lazy. He likes to do things as quick as possible with little effort, so I kind of like him for that. Combat-wise, Haku uses the steel fan that Kuon gave him. In the game, he literally has most close-range attacks, with maybe one time throwing the fan as a boomerang. It will be interesting to see how they incorporate that into Zan, because I don't know how they're going to handle that. I mean, as we see in the one video, he's doing a straight thrust with the fan, which looks like it comes directly from one of his attack chains in the game. So it's going to be interesting to see what nods they make to the actual Deception itself gameplay wise. As for his ultimate, I don't know what that could be. I know in the game he uses the fan as like a boomerang and slash. I don't know how they're going to incorporate that in Zan, since it's going to be like a Muso game. I'm very interested to see how that happens. And then next we'll move on to Kuon, and Kuon is essentially the main heroine of the game. She, as we said before, is the one who finds Haku both times. She essentially is going to be his guardian until his memory comes back and he's able to fend for himself, because at this point Haku is extremely weak. She takes it upon herself to protect him. Kuon is a very nice, nurturing character. She's also somewhat optimistic and a little naive about the world. She has some grounded knowledge. She's a little younger than Haku, from what we can infer from the information she knows. She is also an apothecary, a skill that she was taught by her mother, who she loved very much, and you can find that as the story goes on. Thus, being an apothecary, she has access to knowledge about herb combinations, elixirs, and ointments and other things to help out. Gameplay wise, in Deception, Kuon is essentially like a martial artist. She uses palm thrusts and kicks. Essentially her entire body is a weapon. The only weapon she gets outside of obviously her bare fists are kunai, which are the occasional long range attacks, and I don't know if they're going to give her the kunais, because as we can see in the screenshot, she's essentially doing a palm thrust with a fire coming out of it, because some of her attack chains have elemental attacks in it. So I don't know if they'll give her the kunais. It'll be very interesting to see, because I feel like she'll be very frontline focused. As we can see in another screenshot, what looks to be her ultimate attack, we can see that she's gathering what looks like fire energy into her hand to release in one giant strike, which is essentially different from her final strike in the game, but it's going to be interesting to see how that works out. I'm looking forward to seeing how Kuon and Haku play in the game. Next, we have Nekone, and Nekone is a very interesting character. She is one of the youngest members of the cast you'll get. She's a scholar from the country of Yamato. She's very smart, considered a prodigy in her own right. She's a very good magic user, excelling in healing magic with some offensive magic, but mostly she's your healer for the game. She is also Ukon's little sister, and she loves her brother very much. She's also very polite to everyone around her. She is very sharp-tongued, though, and she is a little more harsher judge of character than her older brother, as evidenced by when she first meets Haku, she is not very much impressed by him and just looks at him as a lazy bum who is essentially not worth her time or her brother's time. But what's very interesting with that is when she meets Kuon essentially opens up her heart. Because she's so young, she doesn't have a lot of friends around her age or part of the scholars that she can turn to. So she eventually opens up to Kuon and asks her if she can call her big sister. And from that point on, she refers to Kuon as big sister. Gameplay wise, as I said before, she's essentially going to be your healer. She's going to be the best healer you'll get in the game. Her attacks are mostly magic based. In the game, her offensive skills set up traps that affect the enemy. Like one is a fire sigil, as we could see in the screenshot here. It looks like she's about to do the second part of her one attack chain, which sets down a fire sigil, and what that does is on the next turn, anyone who's in there, friend or foe, takes damage for that turn before they can move. So it's going to be interesting to see if they incorporate that into a Musou style game, whether if they do, then they're going to have to increase the size of the seal, or they might remove it entirely. Also, she's able to summon a little familiar Shikigami. It doesn't do anything, but it's there just to take like extra hits or to use to set up for combos from other magic users. So it's going to be interesting to see how that works out. And her final strike is essentially a group heal. So I think they're going to change that too. I just don't know what they would change it into. Next, we have Nora Soot. And Nora Soot is essentially a Robin-esque character in the universe. She robs from the rich and gives to the poor. The only problem is who she steals from. Obviously, the corrupt nobles of the Yamato kingdom. They're very powerful, and she steals from very specific ones, and then she gives it to the poor in the city by throwing it at them. The people know who the money's from, and they choose not to accept it because they know what's going to happen if they take the money from the nobles. So usually when she goes on her like Robin Hood-esque spree to deliver the stolen goods to the poor, they usually ignore her because sometimes she throws like giant metal statues at them and breaks their house. So most of the times they're angry at her as well. Nora Soot also comes from a disgraced family. Before the game starts, you find out that her family was a very high standing in the empire, and then it fell out of favor. And so her mission is to reestablish the clan to its former glory. She's a very optimistic character. She's very straightforward. She's very caring. She's not the smartest. She's kind of scatterbrained, but her heart's in the right place. She has a motto stating that is what a good woman would do. And it's essentially just her reassuring or justifying acts that she sees that a good person or a good woman would do. She's very simple but pure. Like her motives are good. It's just sometimes the way she does it or her train of thoughts aren't always the best. She's also the older sister of Oggy, a very interesting character we'll talk about in a second. Essentially with Nora Soot, she is also a master archer, and you find that out in the... She's going to be your best archer in the game. She's also very acrobatic. She's got a move that does kicks that replace her on the map. She also will be the one who can jump the highest in your game, so she'll be able to scale walls that other characters won't be able to, because obviously she's very acrobatic. Obviously, as we can see in the screenshot, it looks like she's about to fire off a giant fire arrow blast, which is also remnant of her final strike in Mask of Deception. So I'm very curious to see if it's just going to be a giant arrow shot that engulfs like an area in front of her. But I'm looking forward to see how they translate her like acrobatic style of fighting into the game. Next, we're going to talk about Oggy, and as I said before, Oggy is Nora Soot's younger brother. He's the more level-headed of the two. He lets his sister get away with pretty much anything she wants. His main goal is to help his sister do whatever she wants, so as long as it benefits her, he's okay with it. He's the more calculating of the two. He's the one that's got more of a head on his shoulder. Like, he's not as reckless as Nora Soot. He'll actually sit down, think of other options, how to solve the problem. But if Nora Soot really wants to do it, he'll usually bend to her wish. He's also usually never changes his expression that he has on his face. Only sometimes it changes to a very wicked smile that only few people get to see, and that's only when he's either thinking of something very diabolical or something he finds very interesting that usually doesn't go well for Haku, who usually, unfortunately, is at the receiving end of whatever that wicked smile tends to be. Gameplay-wise, Oggy uses two sabers, and he's mostly the fastest character in the game. Like, he'll definitely be your fastest character. His sole purpose is to be able to get up and hit characters as fast as possible. He is literally going to be the best to set up for other kills for your character. So essentially you want him to go in first, soften up the enemy so that that weaker allies can finish them off and get the XP. Or if you want him to do like most of the damage, you want to get him behind the enemies where he gets like bonus for back attack so he can get even more damage. And as for his final strike, it is just a flurry of like slashes that end with a giant fireball explosion at the end. And given how Musou games usually go, I think that's pretty easy to incorporate. Like, you just make it an area of effect. So I can't wait to see that. As you can see in the screenshot, he's very fast. He's doing one slash, but in the gameplay trailer reveal, he's doing like a bunch of crazy moves I've never seen before. So it's going to be interesting to see how his gameplay fares in action. Finally, we're going to get to Ukon, who is a very important character for two things. He's a very important character in Mask of Deception, and he's also a very important character for this game. In Mask of Deception, he is Nekone's older brother. He is like one of the first main characters to interact with Haku and Kuon when they enter a town. Essentially, he meets them by being in this wilderness town and having to deal with a insect monster infestation that threatens to essentially overrun the town. So he hires both Haku and Kuon to help him, and through a sequence of events during it, he sees that Haku is able to be flexible and change strategies up on the fly, and he finds that very interesting, and he takes a liking to Haku and wants Haku to join him in his mercenary band, which Haku politely declines. They end up traveling with Ukon to the capital because he offers to take them there, and it's a safer trip that way. But essentially that's what Ukon is. He's not playable in the game of Mask of Deception, so there's no frame of reference to pull from, but he is a very good swordsman. As you can see in the screen though, it looks more like his attacks are going to be based on like wild strikes with power behind it, which is, I think, kind of cool. You don't see many characters represented that way in Utawarerumono. Other than that, what other makes it very significant for him to be a playable character in Zane is it sets up for the possibility that other characters who are not part of the main group to be in the game, such as Munochika, Furai, Mikazuchi, Ostoru, maybe Banawe and Kuro, maybe those characters, because those are the only ones I can really think of that would do very well in an action Musou style game. So that's my train of thought. So he could be a floodgate to other characters that aren't playable in Mask of Deception, but bring them into this game at least to whet our appetites for hopefully what will be a sequel that will be Mask of Truth's telling. Oh, also, the one little fun fact I found out by checking out this one screenshot, you can see Maroro, who is a temporary companion in Mask of Deception with Haku. I'm pretty sure he's going to be playable in Zane, considering he is a temporary party member in Mask of Deception, so I don't think that was ever a question whether he was going to be playable. It's just a matter of when he's officially announced. But that's going to do it for this video, guys. I want to thank you very much. Hopefully this video has interested you in checking out the Utawarerumono franchise. I highly suggest that you try out Mask of Deception and Mask of Truth. They're very good games, and you won't be disappointed. At least I wasn't disappointed with the story and the characters. The gameplay in Mask of Deception isn't equal to the amount of visual novel you get, but after beating the game, you get an entire extra arena to play in with like the same number of maps that you had for beating the game. I think that's good. That's just me. If this got you interested, please check out this franchise because I think this could do well in the West, and unfortunately we don't have any release date for a English localization for Zane. We have a Japanese one that is September 27th of this year for the Japanese release. My big wish is that Atlas sometime next year announces that they're going to bring over Utawarerumono, the remake of the first game, and Zane for the PlayStation 4. I think it would do well over here, and I would be very interested to see it because I think this franchise could do well over here if enough people are interested in this. And if Zane is able to get more people into it, hopefully that means more people will be interested to check out the franchise because, like I said, this is a very good franchise, very good characters, very nice world. I would very much like to see more of these games come over. That's my big wish. But that's going to do it for me, guys. Please leave me a thumbs up if you like the video. Also, guys, let me know what you think because if you want me to, I was thinking about maybe doing some videos on the characters themselves through the Utawarerumono franchise, not involving Zane, and just give like some character breakdowns of them, like Haku going more depth about his like deception and truth, who he is as a character in those games, and so forth. Please let me know if you'd be interested to see that, guys, in the comments below. Please leave me a thumbs up. It really helps out the channel. It also lets me know that you're interested to hear more about Utawarerumono Zane or Utawarerumono in general. Please feel free to leave me a comment as always. I try to get back to you guys as fast as I can. Also, if you don't want to hit me up in the comment section, please feel free to hit me up on Twitter. My Twitter will be in the description below if you want to hit me up there. I try to get back to you guys as fast as I can. Please share these videos around. It really helps out the channel and it helps more people know about Utawarerumono Utawarerumono as a franchise, which I would like more people to be able to talk about this game with, just like with Dynasty Warriors, Samurai Warriors, and other games I'm very interested in. That's going to do it for me, guys. I'm sorry about the rambling. I'm trying to get better with that, but I really do like these games, and I really hope this franchise can come over to the West more, because I think it will do well over here. Again, that's just me rambling. I want to thank you guys very much for the subscriptions. If you're a new subscriber, please hit that bell button to let you know when my videos go up. If you are new to the channel and you feel like subscribing, please feel free to. You don't have to. Again, guys, I'm sorry that I'm rambling. I'm trying to get better at this, but I want you all to have a great day, and remember, let's rock.